Welcome back. Now, the minority in parliament says CEO of COCOBOD Joseph Edu must resign from office for running down COCOBOD and shortchanging farmers. Government announced a significant increase in the price of cocoa by more than 60%, but the minority says that is not enough. Minority leader Dr. Kesela Tuforsen, who has been leading NDC MPs to engage cocoa farmers in Dadie Swaba in the Ahafo region, says the price for a bag of cocoa should have gone up to some 2,500 cedis at least.
2009 to 2016, the farm gate price per bag of cocoa should be nothing less than 2,500 Ghana cedis. If you are to add the premium, in other words, the bonuses that we would have given to the cocoa farmer, the farm gate price per bag should have been 2,800 Ghana cedis. So our calculation point position is that every bag sold by the cocoa farmer, the government has shortchanged the cocoa farmer a minimum of 1,500 Ghana cedis. In other words, the cocoa farmer will interpret it at 15 million Ghana cedis. So on average, if a cocoa farmer sells 10 bags, 1,500 times 10. In other words, 15,000 or 150 million Ghana cedis, according to the cocoa farmer.
Now, the minority are also demanding the resignation of COCOBOD CEO Dr. Joseph Edu, who they accuse of mismanaging the cocoa sector and cheating farmers.
You can see that the cocoa beans that we bought for last year, we bought only 650,000 metric tons. 650,000 metric tons. We left, at the time we left office, the metric ton that we sold was 969,000, almost a million. It is declining by the day. In spite of the fact that this government came to parliament and asked us to approve a loan of 600 million Ghana cedis for them to use the proceeds in ensuring that cocoa will be, they were going to, I think at the time they said it's a form of productivity enhancement program. So they were going to do pruning, and what they are going to do will ensure that Ghana Cocoa Board will exceed 1 million metric ton target. Today, what are we seeing? We are seeing the reverse. So clearly, something is amiss at the Ghana Cocoa Board. We are seeing the production coming down, declining to the lowest in the last 15 years. So everything has gone bad at the Ghana Cocoa Board. We're also seeing them recording massive losses since 2017. Last year, according to their own audit report, they declared a loss of 2.4 billion Ghana cedis 1 year. And the question is, what's going on? Clearly, I don't think that Edu deserves to be in office. He has mismanaged the cocoa sector massively. He's been reckless, mismanaged, shortchanged the cocoa farmer, and in the end, he has brought productivity down. So I don't see why he should be in office. He should rather resign instead of him insulting President Mahama.
The minority have been detailing why they think farmers are worse off.
Your own computation. At the time that they were selling cocoa in 2016, the equivalent could buy at least 2 packets of iron sheet, of roofing sheets. Today, even at 1,003, they can only buy 1 packet. The reverse is that it should have been 1-to-1 at the minimum. And during times like this, they should have been better off. Even if it's 1-to-1, it means that if they sell 2 bags, it would have been 2,600. So you can see where we are arriving at. And they should have been better off, because ideally, times like this, things that we import into the country like roofing sheet will also go up. And things that you export will also go up. But what you have done, even if you are to do basic economics, by using the rate of inflation and using the deflator to deflate this amount, you notice that clearly the government has shortchanged the cocoa farmer.
They also say government does not have money to buy the cocoa beans. Before Parliament went on break, had the syndicated loan been approved? Isaac Kofi Ejay has been mining some data. He joins me in studio with some trend analysis. Kofi, what do we have?
Right, so we've been looking at basically how much government has been selling cocoa per bag over the last 2 decades, right from 2012 to 2023. So that's what you have on your screens. And the argument has been who has actually done well or who is actually shortchanging farmers. But per the data that we have, the current 1,308 thousand, per bag is actually the highest if you compare all this period under review. But it's also fact that there were some points under the President Akufo-Addo era that the price of cocoa per bag was actually held constant.
Okay.
So if you look at the 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022 farming year, the price was held constant. It's also fair to say that the same period, actually under President Mahama, former President Mahama, cocoa prices were also held at constant, and in 2012, 2013, and 2013, 2014, by 212 cedis for these two periods that we're talking about. Now, let's look at the next slide and talk about who has actually changed or who has actually increased the price of cocoa per bag by a certain margin. Let's look at this period from 2011 right down to 2023. And just look at these two, outliers in terms of this cyclical data that we are looking at. What do you see? What you see is that almost the two governments, what they do is that on average, they tend to increase the price around 21, 2%, 3%, and sometimes not at all. Then all of a sudden, they'll give you one spike in a certain period. So the same thing happened under former President Mahama. His highest was 62.7%. in the 2013-2014 and 2015 year. Then we have same with President Akufo-Addo. In fact, this is actually the highest if we compare this period. Now, in President Mahama's first term, if you look at the average between 2012 to 2016, he increased the price of cocoa per bag by 22%. President Akufo-Addo's first term was just around 5.4%. That was his first term. So if you compare the first terms, you can see the difference. But in his second term, if you begin to add this 63.5% and you strike the average, this is probably the highest, which is the average is around 28%. So that's what the data is saying, and then we'll leave the majority and minority to still go around. But we can see what the data is saying.
Exactly.
It's clear. Data doesn't.
Thank you so much, Kofi, for those details. Now, we'll take a short break. We'll return with more. Stay with us.